keep men out of women's sports.
You would think by now the WNBA would have learned to protect the only thing keeping them relevant, the idea that women's sports are sacred ground. But here we are, watching the league spiral into a storm of leaked files, viral clips, and fans asking the one question no exec in a suit wants to answer out loud: who exactly has been stepping onto that court in a Phoenix Mercury jersey? Because Brittney Griner's name is everywhere again, and for once it's not about basketball stats or prison swaps. It's about alleged medical records hitting the internet like a grenade, with claims of surgeries, hormones, and biology that doesn't quite line up with the story the WNBA has been selling. And before the league could even draft a statement, those so-called files were dissected by every fan with Wi-Fi. Lab results, testosterone levels, bone codes, the type of paperwork you don't see in Twitter memes. And suddenly the whispers weren't just whispers anymore. They had footnotes, data, and credibility. The timing couldn't be worse. Remember when Brittney was caught courtside muttering about Caitlin Clark, calling her a trash white girl? That clip alone had social media running like a wildfire. But instead of cooling off, it detonated the perfect storm. Old suspicions bubbled up, new files appeared, and suddenly Griner's entire career was under the microscope. From her time in a men's Russian prison, yeah, not women's, men's, to fans digging up footage of how freakishly fast she recovers from injuries, the dots started connecting in ways the league has never wanted discussed. And let's not pretend people hadn't noticed before. Her shoulders, her voice, the way she moves, fans joked she was just built different. But when built different becomes built biologically different, the laughs stop and the questions start. One clip has been making the rounds again, a dunk highlight reel where Griner floats above the rim while her peers barely graze it. The reaction was brutal. Wait, what are we even looking at here? Is this still women's basketball? But the moment that made jaws drop wasn't even on the court. It was in an interview, right after her child was born. Asked how it felt to be a mom, Griner stopped the reporter cold and said, "Pops. About to be a pops." Fans weren't just shocked, they rebranded her overnight. Brittney Griner became Brian Gurrier in the comment sections, and suddenly that nickname wasn't trolling anymore. It felt like people were exposing a truth they believed had been hidden in plain sight, and then came the Instagram fiasco. A topless clip Griner posted stayed live when Instagram's filters usually nuke content like that from female accounts instantly. The algorithm treated her profile like it was male. Fans lost their minds. If any other WNBA player tried it, they'd be flagged before they could hit share. But for Griner? It stuck. People said that was the glitch in the matrix, the algorithm telling the truth nobody wanted to say. The silence from the WNBA only makes it worse. Every second they refuse to comment is gasoline on the fire. Because women's sports weren't created as a sideshow, they were meant to give female athletes a fair fight, free from being overshadowed by biological advantages they could never match. That's why parents are furious. That's why fans feel betrayed. Because if the playing field isn't level, then what exactly are we protecting anymore? And here's the kicker. Griner herself has been one of the loudest voices insisting trans athletes should play in women's leagues with no restrictions. She once called it a crime to keep biological males out of female sports. At the time, it sounded progressive. But now, with her own status under a magnifying glass, that quote plays back like a confession. Fans are saying, of course she'd call it a crime, testing would expose her too. The Russia angle only fuels the fire. When she was arrested for that infamous vape pen, Moscow didn't blink. They didn't send her to a women's colony. They processed her straight into a men's facility. And fans are asking the obvious, would Russia, of all countries, really misclassify someone's biology? They're ruthless, but they're not clueless. Clips of Griner in chains, towering over guards, have resurfaced with captions like, "Russia told the truth America hides." And this isn't just internet trolls. Real athletes, real insiders, have started side-eyeing the league. Trainers noticed the recovery times, rivals noticed the dominance, and yet the WNBA brushed it all off with the same excuse, she's just unique. But how many careers were robbed by that uniqueness? How many women lost championships, bonuses, and sponsorships because they were up against someone with a totally different biological frame? The hypocrisy stings even harder when you look at real women who were banned for nothing more than high testosterone. Olympic champions like Caster Semenya, sidelined despite being born female, raised female, and competing female. They were punished for natural biology, while Griner allegedly got a free pass because she fit the WNBA's brand. Fans are saying the quiet part loud now: this isn't about fairness. It's about marketing. The league sold inclusion as their brand, and now they can't walk it back without setting their house on fire. But imagine if the leaks are real. Imagine the lawsuits. Every player who lost to her could demand payback, millions in damages, years of careers stolen. Sponsors would want refunds. And since the WNBA runs on NBA money, that fallout scorches the bigger league too. Draymond Green himself admitted the NBA props up the WNBA financially. If one collapses, both take the hit, and let's not forget the global stage. The US traded the Merchant of Death, one of the most dangerous arms dealers alive, for Griner. That wasn't just a trade, it was a statement. If it turns out she wasn't even eligible for the league she was representing, what does that say about the judgment behind the swap? Here's the nightmare scenario nobody wants to admit. If Griner's status is ever officially confirmed, it doesn't just shake the WNBA. It forces sports worldwide to rethink everything. Soccer, tennis, track. Every league would be pressured to reintroduce testing, and the political explosion would be nuclear. That's why the WNBA stays quiet. Because the minute they confirm one case, the entire system could unravel. At the end of the day, this isn't just a scandal about one player. It's about trust. Trust that leagues protect fairness. Trust that when you buy a ticket to women's sports, you're watching women compete.